CMJ's Epic Quest. 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 CMJ's Epic Quest.
Hey everybody, welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. I am Jay Rule, or Justin, and joining alongside me here is...
Derek Coronis. Derek, as always, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing all right. It's been a busy weekend and a busy weekend. My youngest daughter had a sleepover with one of her neighborhood friends last night, and then my oldest daughter had a sleepover with one of her friends at their house. Doing this, and then at 5:30 my youngest has a birthday party to go to. Gavin's got some banquet to be at for I'm not sure which sport. And then tomorrow we are celebrating the partner's mom's birthday, so we're all gonna go do like an escape room. It's like an Indiana Jones type escape room. And
should be right up your alley then, huh?
Yeah, going out to dinner after that. So it should be pretty fun. Those escape rooms are pretty damn cool. And
they're fun. We've done a couple with the kids, but yeah, they can be hard too.
Yeah. The first one we did was like the easiest. This one's going to be the second easiest, and then I think we're just going to kind of progressively get harder and harder. So
gotcha. Well, it should be fun. Sounds like a good time, but yeah, busy like you said.
Yeah, what about you, man?
Yeah, been a busy weekend as well. My mom retired. She was supposed to have shoulder surgery like last week, and it ended up getting postponed because of some miscommunication. And I think she'll have like a fairly lengthy recovery time, and so that's why she retired. But we went out to dinner last night with my parents, and my parents' neighbors came too. Had a good time, and then Kelly's working all weekend up in the cities, and then so I was running kids around this morning. And tomorrow morning, I have potentially my last hockey game for the year. If we lose, we're done for the year. So our playoffs started Wednesday. We lost that game, double elimination. So we got to work our way through the losers bracket if we're going to do anything. So we'll see what happens. I think we can win tomorrow morning. After that, I don't know.
All right. Well, best of luck, sir. I hope you pull a W.
We should. There's 7 teams in the league. We finished 5th place. So we played 4th place our first game, and we lost 5-3. It was close. And then tomorrow we play the last place team. So you never know what happens, I guess. That's why you play the game. But we should be able to beat them, I think.
Gotcha. So are you essentially competing for 4th place at this point?
No. We're still, if we keep winning, we can get to the championship game through the losers bracket.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, they don't really do like a 3rd place game or anything like that. It's just however they set up the bracket. You win, you go to the winner side of the bracket, work towards the championship game, and then you lose, you go to the losers bracket. And if you lose the second time, you're done. If you win, you keep going till you lose the second game or get to the championship game.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess before we get started in today's episode, we'd like to take a moment to thank and recognize Silverstone's Books. Please check out their website, check out their storefront. They have a large selection of fantasy, sci-fi, and horror books, with many of those coming as the option of having them signed at pretty decent prices. So they also carry a large number of indie authors, so please help us help them in supporting those self-published authors. They've also been gracious enough to give us a promo code for 10% off your next order. That code is DJ Quest in all capital letters. So check out their site and pick up a book and save some cash.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to get down there soon. I know we've been talking about that. And I mean, beyond that, I think as far as we know, only one person's used the code to get the discount. So if you use the code or have used it, shoot us a message some way, shape, or form, and we'll do a little shout out. Show us what you got or something, just something kind of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
That. So, but patrons, we have some exciting news there. We've got 3 new patrons, which was pretty unexpected, but pretty awesome as well. So, in order of subscription, we have Jan, the picker of noses, Luciana Etrigan, Ryan, the topological, Damien, the rock of faces, Nate, fiddle me this, Shield Anvil Dylan, and our newest members to our little chain of dogs here. We have Calvin Wallace. Calvin, I've messaged you on Patreon. If you see that or hear this first, I guess, whichever comes first, shoot us a message. Let us know if you got a nickname you'd like to use for this. And then we have Livia. I'm sorry if we butcher your last name here. Sapo. We'll need a nickname from you as well. But we kind of have a hunch that you might be our Malazan potato noob. That we see commenting on our YouTube channel and wherever else. So if that's you, let us know. And then we have Aaron Parker, and we've got we've talked to Aaron a little bit here as well already, but Aaron, you'll have to get us a nickname here as well. So Thank you guys. Really exciting for us. And I would say it's also very humbling to know that we make an impact on your days, and that you guys can, help support us a little bit. So we really appreciate it.
And make an impact on us as well. I would like to commend Aaron for the wonderful conversation that he has incited. It definitely is very thought-provoking, so I appreciate that, Aaron.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, we got another BFE here, a sizable one anyways.
Yeah, I saw that you copied it from the Malazan wiki.
You figured out my trick.
But anyway, One Arm's host in that time was perhaps the finest army the Malazan Empire had yet to produce, even given the decimation of the bridge burners at the Siege of Pale, drawn from disparate regiments that included companies from 7 cities, Falar and Malaz Island. These 10,000 soldiers were, by roll, 4,912 women, the remaining men, 1,267 under the recorded age of 25 years, 721 over the age of 35 years, the remaining in between. Remarkable indeed, more so when one considers this. Among its soldiers could be found veterans from the Wiccan Wars, see Coltane's Rebellion, the Arran Uprising on both sides, and Black Dog Forest and Mott Wood. How does one measure such an army? By their deeds? And that which awaited them in the Panian Domain would make of One Arm's host a legend carved in stone. East of Saltoan, a history of the Panian Wars, Gaurid Pala.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think that, 49%, I mean, really you could just call it 50% of the soldiers are women. I don't know if you see that anywhere in the real world where half the soldiers, well, I guess maybe like Israel will maybe be the only one that might be, because I know they have like a mandatory military service. I think Finland does too, but I don't know if women have to do that. But I'm pretty positive Israel that the women they have to do their mandatory military service as well. So maybe theirs is pretty close to 50-50, but I think that's fairly unheard of for the most part. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So don't crucify me over that. Just educate me if there's something out there I'm not aware of.
Fair enough. It is unreal, though. I feel like women in, war settings are not common enough.
Well, hey, I mean, they're obviously effective, so.
For sure.
Well, do you have any other thoughts on the epigraph there, or should we just dive in?
The only thought that I had was that it relates to your last section a little bit. We can probably, when we get there, swing back.
Sure. Okay. I kind of think maybe I've got an idea, but definitely. All right. What chapter is this again? I already forgot. Chapter 13 here. This is the last chapter of whatever subbook this was. God, I'm kind of off my game today. Hearthstone. So we'll finish off the sub book, and then in about a week we'll talk to Maura and Lee again, which will be fun because we've not talked to them in forever. But first section here, bugs everywhere. The oxen pulling the wagons were covered in them. The Maibi watched the Rivi move among them with a mixture of grease and crushed lemongrass seeds to ward off the insects. They smeared it on their eyes, noses, and mouth, while the Rivi themselves used a thinner version. Brood soldiers had adopted the practice as well. However, the Taist Andi seemed to be left alone. The bugs were drawn to rank after rank of soldier marching across the land. The Maibi thought it was another march across the land, the hood-forsaken continent, that these strangers had been unwelcome and detested, even feared for years. Now they're allies. They follow one man. They don't ask for justification or cause. She wondered if Brood commanded the same amount of loyalty. He was, after all, the warlord who had dealt the Malazans their first defeat. Their lands were being invaded. They had clear cause, and they fought for a commander who could match the enemy. Yet again, they face a new threat to their land, and again, Brood leads them. Though if he were to command them into the abyss, would they follow? And with knowing what she knows now, would she? Her thoughts turned to Rake and the Taist Andi. They were strangers to this land, yet they fought in its defense. She knew his rule was absolute over the Taist Andi, and they would follow him anywhere, even into the abyss. She thought they were all fools. And now marching side by side with them were the Malazan, one arm and Whiskey Jack, and 10,000 unwavering souls. She wondered what made these men and women so intractable with their sense of honor. In reality, she was fearful of their courage. Within the shell of her body was a broken spirit, dishonored by its own cowardice, bereft of dignity, no longer a mother, lost even to the Rivi. She thought that she was nothing more than food for the child. She had seen her from a distance, and she could see she had grown, while Silver Fox devours her. A horseman approached her, asking if she would send him away. She told the man that the Maibi was dead, and that he, or Whiskey Jack, could leave. He pulled off his gloves and rested them on the saddle horn. The Maibi studied them and thought they were rough hands, but any woman would desire their touch. Whiskey Jack said they needed to end this foolishness. They needed her counsel. Corlat, says she, the Maibi, is having dreams. She cries out against a threat that approaches. He could see the terror within her. Whiskey Jack wanted her to describe her visions. Her heart started beating out of her chest. She called them fools. Would they challenge her enemy, a deadly, unstoppable foe? Would he draw his sword and stand in her place? Whiskey Jack said if it would help, he would. The Maibi said there was no need, as what came for her in her dreams came for them all. Death. Death comes for them all. Whiskey Jack said it was nonsense. They were both too old to fear death. Again, she called him a fool. If he thought they'd stand face to face with Hood, Hood is only the mask to something that stands beyond his, or Whiskey Jack's, ability to comprehend. But she has seen it. She knows what waits there. Whiskey Jack said then she no longer yearns for it. She said she was mistaken back then, and that was at a time she believed in her people's spirit world. She had sensed ghosts, but they were only memories. A sense of self only held together by the strength of its own will. Fail that will, and all is lost forever. Whiskey Jack asked if oblivion would be so terrible. The Maibi said it isn't oblivion. It is a place crowded with fragmented memories of pain and despair, all the emotions that carve deep on one's soul. Love drifts like ashes. She told Whiskey Jack identity is gone. All that's left of oneself is doomed to an eternity of pain and terror. There's a succession of fragments of everyone, everything that has ever lived. She stands on the edge. She has no strength left within, no will. When she dies, she sees what awaits her, what hungers for her pain, her memories. It is true abyss, beyond what even legends and stories tell. It lives unto itself, consumed by a rapacious hunger. Whiskey Jack told her it was only a dream, and sometimes the mind fashions its own punishment for what one thinks as their own failures. The Maibi did not like this and told him to get out of her sight. She thought to herself that he could not answer all that she had seen with one simple yet brutal statement. He would not find a way to her heart. She would not accept his wisdom. She thought he was a bastard.
Man, Maibi is just declining, like, rapidly. Not even physically, but just mentally, too.
I'm kind of surprised she's made it this far.
It's tragic, though, and, with the whole, like, at the beginning of the section of the bugs thing, I find it really interesting because it's almost like she's looking for a reason to hate on the Malazans, and that reason is really trivial, right? Like she's upset that these bugs are drawn to the Malazans because they don't know any better, right? Whereas the Rivi do, and the Tystandi, the bugs don't even bother them. So it's kind of one of those things where she's like, it almost seems like she's looking for a reason to hate on them because the bugs are there annoying her. But it's because they don't know that they can use this grease that has lemongrass seeds in it to like help ward them off. You know, like a citronella candle or of some sort. You know,
Whatever. Yeah, I guess I didn't even really think of it that way. I just kind of assumed the bugs would probably be there anyways. They're just kind of swarming, I guess. I don't know. But yeah,
I
definitely an interesting take there. I didn't think. I like your take on it.
awesome. Thanks.
Man, my first thought here, where Mybe is, she's thinking within the shell of her body was a broken spirit, dishonored by its own cowardice, bereft of dignity, no longer even a mother. It's like, Jesus, like, man, she's being hard on herself. It's kind of the nature of life, right? Like I think every parent assumes to outlive their children, hopes to. I mean, if you don't, it's a terrible thing if it doesn't work out that way. But it's just kind of that decline while Silver Fox is I guess gaining, right? She's growing up at a rapid pace, and the Mybe's declining at a rapid pace. But I mean, that's just the nature of life, right? I mean, and it's like she's having a hard time coming to terms with it, and has this whole time.
Well, right, but I mean, she's mentally still I guess we don't have confirmation as to how old she really is, but I would imagine she's like in her early to mid 20s, right? What early
Yeah,
to 20-year-old is going to have I guess, the wisdom of someone who has aged appropriately?
yeah, you're right. They're not. But yeah, it was just a heavy line though, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love specifically the whole dishonored by its own cowardice. It's almost like she's afraid to stand up to it,
Well, what do you do?
afraid to
How do you?
accept her demise. But I have a feeling that the last section in this chapter maybe gives us some hope. So I will definitely talk about that when we get there because I think it's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if she kicks the bucket here in the next chapter or two. Really,
Fair enough.
we'll see what happens. I mean, I think you and I both agree she's not going to make it out of this book, but it's a matter of when. Really, is kind of what I think it comes down to.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. One of the things that I thought was really interesting is in Whiskey Jack and the Mybe's conversation here. Obviously her adversary is death, right? Like, I think that both of us could agree that that is what she's being plagued by dreams of is death.
Yeah,
And they have this robust conversation around death, and Whiskey Jack said that the Mybe no longer yearns for it. And I'm wondering if this is like a nod to ascendancy. Like Whiskey Jack kind of seems to be taking on this hope that there is an afterlife, even though it's beyond even his or anyone's ability to comprehend. And that Hood is just the mask behind the paradise that awaits, essentially, so to speak, or ascendancy in this world. So it kind of seems like Whiskey Jack's point is that the Mybe has forgotten everything that she's really been taught, and even her people, the Rivi, believed in like the spirits, right? Like what we know about Telemandus. I mean, he's a Barghast spirit who has potentially died a long time ago, but yet he's still interactive into this world. And it's kind of like the Mybe has like closed herself off from that potential, like refusing to acknowledge that there's life beyond death.
I guess I feel like it's kind of the opposite. She saw that. I think before she had kind of accepted death and thought that there was going to be an afterlife, and now she's seen that there really isn't. It's just a mess of memories floating around.
Fair. But is that because her dreams have her convinced otherwise? I mean,
Maybe.
are her dreams legitly telling her the truth, or is she kind of going along with what Whiskey Jack suspects and that she's fashioning these images to kind of punish herself?
I mean, it could be some of both, certainly.
Yeah.
Hard to say for sure. I guess maybe it's just kind of my own thoughts on things is, I think when we die, there's nothing there, I think. But I'd love to be wrong, but I'm not really in a rush to find out.
Yeah, I mean, in this world, I would 100% agree with that stance. But in the world of Malazan, where we know that ascendancy is an option, how you get there, whether you have to die first, I really don't know. There really isn't a whole ton of clarity yet, but I think that's the point. But as far as this world, I think that there is life beyond.
Yeah, I mean, there must be to some extent, but I mean, I think there's also, dead is dead.
Yeah.
Also, the sentence "love drifts like ashes." I just really liked that. It was a good line. It was just a beautiful, kind of haunting line, but it was a good sentence.
Yeah, I would agree.
The maybe again, she's talking about the abyss. What's beyond it? The legends and stories. It lives unto itself, consumed by hunger. And all I could think of is like, that sounds exactly like the Tenniscowry. Just lives for itself. There's constant hunger. It's just a mouth to feed.
So, do you think that the abyss is like the Tenniscowry then? Do you think that that's foreshadowing her demise? Like maybe she gets eaten by Tenniscowry?
I don't know. It seemed like there were some parallels there. That's all.
I mean, it is always a possibility that that's what happens.
It could be. Yeah, I don't know. It just it felt like if you were going to describe the Tenniscowry, I felt like that would be an appropriate way to describe them also.
Fair. Yeah, I would agree. I would 100% agree.
My last thought here, she says that Whiskey Jack could not answer everything that she'd seen with just this brutal sentence. She would not let him close, and she wouldn't accept his wisdom. But I kind of feel like part of her must think that he's right, but she doesn't want to accept it. And I get it, because it's like perfectly understandable to be afraid of death and what's after it or what's not after it. And I feel like she's kind of had her moment already accepting death, and that's what it means to her. And now Whiskey Jack's trying to casually flip her mind, on it and change her view. I don't know how you think about it.
I mean, part of me wants to take the stance that Whiskey Jack, I don't think, is being totally empathetic in the situation, but at the same time, we kind of get the sense that they've been traveling a while together, even though that story hasn't been on page too much as far as like their journey and the time. So it kind of seems like Whiskey Jack may be manipulating the situation a little bit to get what he wants, and that's her counsel, right? At the end of the day, I also kind of agree with Whiskey Jack in that, sometimes we fashion things inside of our mind to punish ourselves for whatever. And whatever it is that the Maibi is going through, I think that she's just so focused on what's next that she's not kind of doing what she's supposed to be doing in the moment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Living
for the future and not the moment, not the present.
I can see both sides to it.
Yeah, I can too.
Just kind of my thoughts.
But and we'll find out later on in some of these sections. But Silver Fox and the Maibi's relationship is a bit estranged at the moment.
For sure. That was all I had for this first section, though. If you would like to take yours.
The only thought that I have left on this section is I liked how she kind of describes her daughter's hunger, like she expected to be fed on like a gazelle. And it just made me think that like Tattersail's devouring her like a crocodile would or something.
Death roll.
Yeah. I don't know why that image came to my mind, but that's what it did when I was reading it.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. It's 2 p.m. I shouldn't be that tired yet.
No, usually we record this like super late. I have to like turn on all these lights, but I got this nice highlight here. I guess moving on, kind of going through the shorty of a chapter.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whiskey Jack rode at a gentle canter until he reached the vanguard of the Malazan army. Here, he found Dujek flanked by Corlat on one side and Krupp on the other side. Krupp is vehemently complaining about the bugs. While Dujek spoke to Krupp, Corlat drew closer alongside Whiskey Jack and asked how the Mybe was doing. Whiskey Jack said that she wasn't better, and her spirit was just as twisted as her body. She has fabricated visions of death that have her feeling or fleeing in terror. Corlat said that Silver Fox feels abandoned by her mother, which has led to bitterness, and Silver Fox no longer welcomes their company. Whiskey Jack exclaims that this has become a contest of wills, and isolation is the last thing that Silver Fox needs. Corlat points out that Silver Fox is just like that of her mother, as Whiskey Jack has solely pointed out. Whiskey Jack sighs and his thoughts begin to drift. Dujek is heard saying that they are late. Krupp assures Dujek that they'll come through, even as he relates a ghastly tale of the previous delivery from the Trigaily Trade Guild. Krupp says that it was clear that the warning was heard. The Warrens have been compromised. Krupp said that the Trigaily honor their contracts, and when they pull through with delivering of their supplies, and among those, a special request from Darujistan, Krupp had ordered the finest bug repellent. Whiskey Jack leaned towards Corlat and asked where in the line Silver Fox walked. Corlat replied that she walked at the rear. Whiskey Jack asked if anyone was watching her. Corlat asked if there was a need for it. Whiskey Jack snaps at this, and then shortly thereafter apologizes, and then canters off towards the rear. Krupp is heard saying that tempers grew short, but not as short as Krupp, as insults go right over his head. If those insults were aimed lower, though, it would bounce off his ample composure. Dujek interrupts to say that he meant to say fat. Krupp goes on a long-winded rant, and when he was done, Corlat muttered that Hood take them all, and that the high fist must have gotten underneath Krupp's skin. In response to Corlat, Dujek's grin was pure satisfaction. Just a couple of things for that really short section. And we talked about a little bit in the end of the previous section, but just kind of this Corlat is explaining to Whiskey Jack that Silver Fox feels abandoned by her mother. And I thought it was cool that Corlat stumbled at first because she wanted to say Tattersail. And based on the Mybe's description of her daughter, it seems that Tattersail is kind of the one in control. At least that's kind of how it seems, which I'm really liking.
It does seem that way.
So I know that the Mybe had made a comment about Silver Fox kind of taking on Tattersail's physical features. So I think that in the battle of however many souls are inside of Silver Fox right now, Tattersail's the one that's kind of coming to the fold, which is what they wanted.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of like this, you've got a relationship and both of them are feeling similar, but towards each other. So now they're both doing the same thing. And everybody in the middle is just like, oh my God, can we just fucking get over this? Can we just like figure it out?
Yeah.
The other thing that I had was just there's some nice humor in here. Krupp is going on this very elaborate, very worded, like kind of explanation of things. And Dujek is able to make a crack at him, so we got some nice humor in there.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I definitely found myself chuckling almost every time that I reread this section. The only other thing at this point is just the Warrens seem to be ramping up in the violence, which we get a tale that the Trigaily Trade Guild are having some issues delivering supplies. And I think this is one of the things that they had no idea was going on when they, recruited the Trigaily Trade Guild all those chapters ago.
Well, right. Yeah.
But it sounds like they're making it through just rather violently.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like a great time.
Not at all. But yeah, that's all I had for that little short section.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything to add here. So we can, if you're ready, we can keep going.
I'm ready.
Whiskey Jack made his way to the rear of the march. There were Ribby everywhere, either by themselves or in small groups. They seemed to be immune to the distance they'd covered and the heat as well. The bedridden were being driven along parallel to the soldiers with a gap between that caused a steady flow of the ribby going back and forth, with the occasional wagon carrying a carcass. The rear guard appeared with outriders on the sides, sufficient in numbers to hold off a surprise attack long enough that the main force could swing around. Whiskey Jack took a drink of water and studied his soldiers. He was satisfied with what he saw. Finally, she appeared at the very rear, and she had Tattersail's stride, and it gave Whiskey Jack a shiver. Behind her were 2 Malazan soldiers with crossbows slung over their shoulders and visors down on their helms. Once they passed Whiskey Jack, he kicked his horse into action, and he quickly caught up to the 2 female soldiers. One of them asked if he was here to fill his quota of eating dust. Whiskey Jack asked how they were given that honor. They said they volunteered. They knew her name was different, but it was still Tattersail and their cadre mage, so they guarded her back. Whiskey Jack asked if they were enough. One of the women spoke and said they were hood-damned killers. Her and her sister were. They could each fire 2 bolts every 70 heartbeats, and once time was out, they both had long swords for each hand. Then pig stickers for when the swords broke. Eventually their teeth if need be. Whiskey Jack asked how many brothers they had grown up with. He was told they had 7, and they had all run off as soon as they were able. Even their father ran off, and their mother was better off for it. Whiskey Jack rolled up his sleeve and showed the women a bite-mark scar on his arm. He explained the girl was 5 who bit him, and he was 16. She was a little monster. It was his first fight he ever lost. They asked if she became a soldier when she was older. Whiskey Jack said no. She said she was going to marry a king, or what she claimed, and that was the last anyone had ever heard or seen of her. One of the sisters said she wouldn't be surprised by that, especially if she was anything like Whiskey Jack. He told the women to carry on, and he moved up to Silver Fox. She immediately told him they would die for her now, or him now, rather, and she knew he didn't mean to do it on purpose, and that there was nothing calculated when you were simply being human. That's what makes him deadly. Whiskey Jack said it was no surprise she walked alone. She said they were very much alike. If they held hands, 10,000 souls would rush to fill them, and once in a while, one of the 2 of them recognizes that fact. Then the pressure hardens them down a little deeper than before, and what's small gets a little softer and weaker. Whiskey Jack said not weaker, just more selective, and that's the fact that she feels a burden is all the proof needed to show it is alive and well. Silver Fox said she had thought of a difference. For him, it was 10,000 souls. For her, 100,000. He only shrugged in reply. Silver Fox was about to speak further, but a crack filled the air, and there was a tear in the air with a river of red pouring out, followed by a burning wagon ablaze with black fire. The horses of the Trigali Trade Guild were also burning, and they screamed as they stumbled into the flooded plain. A second wagon stormed through in the same condition as the first, though it was more in control as it splashed through the river of blood that poured out the opening. The driver was standing on the front, his cloak on fire, yelling to make way, and narrowly missed hitting the 2 Marines, while a guardsman holding onto the side of the wagon was thrown off. Several more wagons made their way through the tear, the last as big as a house, with over 30 horses pulling it. The Whiskey Jack figured that wouldn't be enough, if not for the magic helping it along. Behind it, the portal closed and sprayed blood everywhere. Silver Fox looked at the blood and knew it was an elder god's, a friend. She said this is what has been filling the Warrens, and that he was injured, perhaps even fatally. Whiskey Jack kicked his horse into a run towards the wagons. Gouges had been ripped into the side, blackened smears where the guards once hung on. Smoke drifted up above as forms started to emerge and stumbled from the wagon. A woman came forth from the door closest to Whiskey Jack. She apologized for the delay. Whiskey Jack said he assumed they would find an alternate way back to Darujistan. She said they would figure that out once they determined the extent of the damage they suffered. She asked if the army was set up for camp for the night. Whiskey Jack said he assumed that the order had been given, and the woman replied that that was good as they were not in any shape to chase them down. 3 guards, or shareholders, approached the wagon, one of them carrying a large taloned arm still dripping blood. 2 thumbs on the hand twitched as it was only inches away from one of the guards' face. One of the guards called the woman Heratus and said they had lost the other 3, but they still had this beauty. Heratus explained to Whiskey Jack that they had been attacked early on by demons. One of the men said it wasn't an attack. They were just looking for a way out too, and they would have taken them, but they were too heavy. One of the others said that they hadn't signed a waiver. Heratus told them to get lost. But the men had gotten too close to the wagon, and the hand had grabbed onto the wheel, refusing to let go. Horatus wasn't thrilled and wanted to know when it would come off. One of the guards said when the fingers were worn through. It'll be a bumpy ride for a bit. Whiskey Jack told her that her escort had arrived as some soldier approached. He said he would want a detailed report once things settled down, and that she should let her second in command take care of distribution. He looked for Silver Fox again. She was 200 paces ahead, walking with blood-stained boots. Kind of an interesting section. I will say it caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that.
Expecting the Gailey Trade Guild coming through, or?
Yeah, and the blood pouring out and just the whole mess of the situation.
Yeah. It kind of makes me think about the theory that I had in one of our previous episodes where I talked about Carul and the Warrens being like veins and capillaries. Do you remember that?
A little bit.
Yeah. So I feel like this is just kind of not really proving anything, but allowing that canon to exist.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, well, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird deal though to think like these Warrens are like his veins and shit. But
I mean, what if the elder gods are really just the vessel in which Warrens exist, right? And each body is a different realm.
Could be.
I don't know. It's interesting. It definitely makes me think, but I don't have anything conclusive. So yeah.
Gotcha. My only thought here on this section was with, I think you're probably on the right track. Whiskey Jack shows these bite marks for scars that he's got. And I was like, man, like, did this kid go on to be like the Empress or something? But I think you're probably right. It's like, it's his sister. I don't know why I thought that, but it was just like, nobody ever saw her or heard from her again. Maybe she just became somebody else. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what I was thinking, but it just seemed like a weird thing to say. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that, they were conversing about, Whiskey Jack asks these two sisters how many brothers you grew up with, and just kind of that like sibling rivalry, so to speak. And he's just kind of like sharing a story of that. But I mean, are you getting at that Whiskey Jack's sister is probably the Empress Lucine, or just she's the sister that married a king from wherever?
I don't know. I guess I don't even remember if they really said how old Lucine was. But she was also blue, right?
Yeah.
And Whiskey Jack's not, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. I'm assuming it's probably not Lucine, but I just wanted to like clarify. That's all.
Yeah. It was just kind of like a fleeting thought. Those things that pop up sometimes.
That's fair.
I did have another thought here. But it just where Silver Fox is looking at the blood that's coming out of this portal, and she says it's an elder god's, a friend. I'm assuming it's Cruel, just based on what we know of the Warrens and saying that it's a friend.
Right.
I don't know how you felt.
No, I feel the same. I think that it's definitely Cruel's, and Cruel had an impact on Tattersail's rebirth, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah. One of the other things that I kept thinking about when I was reading this section, more particularly along the Gailey Trade Guild, but I could have sworn in Dead House Gates when they had delivered Cussers to Fiddler in, the Dead House's Ath, that they seemed like the Warren that they came out of was troublesome. They looked beat up and they looked exhausted. They looked like they were having some trouble getting there. Is how I remember kind of that scene playing out. And it's funny how it takes something, half a book later for you to kind of be jarred of that memory. And I don't know. I'm excited for when, I guess it just makes me excited so that like when I get to Dead House Gates again, like I will be paying very close attention to that interaction at Tremolo,
Sure.
So, and it's just kind of like a sign of the trouble that has existed. And it's just interesting because we didn't know that trouble existed until we started this book.
Well, not even when we started, we kind of had to get partway into it even.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of cool how book series can do that, like even though that book had nothing to do with the characters that we see here, it's still affecting it's still affecting their worlds.
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't really have anything else, though. I mean, is there anything else that's sticking out to you? I guess the only other thing, there is something here, where Silver Fox, they're talking about holding hands and 10,000 souls rush to fill them. And then she's like, well, for you, it's 10,000. For me, it's 100,000. I don't really know what the fuck that's all about. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just
No, no.
oh, yeah, I was thinking about that.
I think she's talking about the Talani Mass and the Rivi.
But how would Whiskey Jack really be tied to either? Oh, well, is the 10,000 the bridge burners?
I think 10,000 is like not necessarily the bridge burners, because they're a small group of like 30, 40-ish something members, but just kind of like the Malazan army that's with them right now.
Well, but it says souls, and it said in the epigraph, it said that they were 10,000 strong. And yeah, you're right. I mean, most of them were killed now. There's not many of them left.
So maybe it is referring to the souls at Pale. I guess I don't remember a very specific
wherever they
number
were killed, but
that were killed during the siege of Pale, and even in the tunnels. But yeah, I mean, I think that she's talking about the Talani Mass.
Okay, gotcha.
I could be wrong. Audience out there, feel free to correct us. I think that, it's one of those things where they're talking about loyalty again, right? Like the bridge burners and the Malazans that are currently with Whiskey Jack and Dewjack are, as the Mybe pointed out, kind of following senselessly, right? And whereas Silver Fox is kind of in this position where she never really had any type of massive leadership opportunity before. And now all of a sudden she's kind of put into this role where she's essentially a human bone caster and responsible for all of the Talan, right?
It's hard to see her as responsible when she hasn't even really interacted with them yet, though.
Exactly. But they're following her blindly.
We're trying to get to her.
Right. She's just, it is a second gathering. I feel like it's an invite to a birthday party, right? Like you just go.
I like that.
And I think that, and on top of her feeling, estranged from her mom is not helping, which tells me that it's kind of weird, because like if it really is Tattersail incarnate or reborn or whatever you want to call it, it's funny that she would have these feelings, because can you think about being like born again, having the knowledge that you have as a small child?
No, I cannot.
Just in that very abstract notion, for some reason I'm able to obtain that. You would still feel an attachment to the person raising you, because you are not fully capable physically of doing it yourself, right? Like you have to learn how to walk again. You have to learn how to eat. Even though you have this vast knowledge, you just don't know how to express it. So yeah. It's weird. It's very strange to me that an adult woman is reborn, and we had no talks of her parents in Gardens of the Moon. She seemed like a strong, very independent woman, and now she's reborn with all of that knowledge that she had previously, on top of potentially an elder goddess, right? And she still feels this pull towards her mom, her second mother, so to speak.
Your mom's always there for you.
Sometimes.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, it's just, I don't really know how to elaborate on that really surreal thought, but there it is.
I think you did a good job, man.
Thanks, dude.
Yep.
All right, well, you ready for section 4 here?
Yeah, this was definitely my favorite section of the chapter.
Yep, and definitely probably the highlight of the chapter as far as things go, or, it's just stuff, but...
Stuff and stuff.
Stuff and stuff. Calor's thoughts were dark as always. He thought to himself that they are bickering in the command tents. Death flows through the warrens. He told himself that he wouldn't mind the end of sorcery, as the world would be better off without mages. A lone candle, made with fragments of a rare sea worm, gusted thick, heavy smoke. Seated on an ironwood throne, Calor breathed deep the fumes. He thought to himself that alchemy is not magic, and that the mysteries of the natural world hold far more wonders than any mage could imagine in a lifetime. He thinks to himself that these century candles were well named. He can feel each layer seeping into his flesh and bone. He continues to think about the boredom of inactivity, and it was the moments that he must act. He compares himself to a beast that is motionless and dangerous. He has always been so, but yet the people that know him best are ashes and dust. The people who now surround him are oblivious to the hunter in their midst. He pulled more memories to the forefront, discarding some for others, until he came upon the memory of the eight mighty wizards, hands linked, calling out in desperation for power from an unknown realm. As the strange god drew near, the trap was sprung. Down he came, torn to pieces, yet still alive. Shattering a continent, breaking warrens during his fall, this downed god is now broken, damaged, and crippled. 8 wizards who sought to oppose Kalar had loosed a nightmare that now rises once more. Fools. Now they are all dust and ashes. His thoughts turned to the 3 elder gods that assailed his realm, banding together to crush him once and for all. And to their surprise, he didn't play by their rules. And boy, were they surprised when they strode into his empire with nothing but charred bones and lifeless ash. The 3 gods couldn't fathom that he would destroy all he created. He finds himself pondering that one of them is still pursuing him. He knows it to be Cruel. In Cruel's pursuit of Kalar, he has met another enemy, and one that is killing him. How wonderful that was. He muses on the fate of his sister, and how little of her is left. If he can help it, she won't recover. A faint smile slid across his face. His eyes narrowed as a portal took shape before him. A figure emerged, and then the portal closed behind the Jaghut. He spoke, and said that he conveys greetings from the crippled god. Gethel paused to survey the tent, made a comment about Kalar's vast empire. Kalar said that he was tempted to add scars to Gethel's face, and while his empire may be gone, he will not yield his throne. He is patient and ambitious. Gethel, of all people, should know and understand that. Gethel laughed and took another jab at Kalar's patience. Kalar said that he would destroy the Jaghut and told him to stop throwing insults and tell him what the fuck he is doing here. Gethel apologized and explained that he is the herald to the crippled god. A new house has come to the deck of dragons. The House of Chains. Kalar snorted and said that it was insane to think that this game would work. The house would be assailed and obliterated. Gethel told him that the battle was well underway and they were winning. Kalar's eyes thinned as he said the poisoning of the Warrens. Kalar calls the crippled god a fool, because what was the point in destroying the power he requires to assert his claim? Without the Warrens, the deck of dragons is nothing. Gethel explains that the poison is just enforcing a certain alteration to the Warrens. Those who resist it view it as a deadly manifestation. Servants of the crippled god, however, find themselves able to travel the path freely. Kalar growled and said that he is a servant to no one. Gethel explained that the position of High King is vacant within the crippled god's House of Chains. Kalar assumes that he would have to kneel before the crippled god. Gethel explains that no such gestures are required. The House of Chains exists beyond the influence of the crippled god. He's trapped in a lifeless, long-dead warren, chained to a sleeping goddess. He has cast the House of Chains into the world, knowing he would abandon it. The strength of the house comes to the players joining it. Some of those players, the crippled god has influence over, but High House King is not such a role he can control. Kalar asked Gethel why he didn't take the gig. Gethel replied that he is content being a herald. Kalar jabs at Gethel, saying that he would likely be spared because he's the messenger. Kalar tells the Jaghut that he wasn't being very smart, and his brother Gothos must be laughing. Gethos said that his brother never laughs, and being that he knows where his brother resides, he is now the one laughing. He tells Kalar to hurry up because his presence here could be detected by the Taistandi. Kalar said that the Taistandi were near, and even worse was Caladan Brood. He tells the Jaghut that Rake had left weeks ago to go back to Moonspawn. Gethel said that the crippled god must know the location of it. Kalar raised an eyebrow and said that it was a task for a king. Gethel asked if betrayal stung his sense of honor. Kalar said that the sting fades as he only requires an opportunity. However, the crippled god pleases. Gethel inquired about what this opportunity shall entail. Kalar smiled and said that the woman, Silver Fox, and asked for a moment of vulnerability. Gethel slowly bowed and said that he is Calor's herald and he will convey his message to the crippled god. Calor asked Gethel before he left if his throne suits the House of Chains. Gethel looked about the throne, noting the cracks amongst the frame, and said that it certainly did. Calor told Gethel to be gone. Gethel bowed once more and then was gone. Adding years and years of renewed vigor, he sat motionless, thinking to himself that the hunter waited for the ambush, explosive and deadly. I guess my first thought for this very, very interesting section is at the beginning when he kind of like is thinking to himself that he wouldn't mind the end of sorcery and that the world would be better off with mages. And very aligned with kind of what the crippled god is doing, right? But also sorcery is the reason that put him in this position, right? With the three elder gods.
Yes.
Kind of stemming off of that, he says that alchemy is not magic and that the mysteries of the natural world held far more wonders than any mage could imagine in a lifetime. And this just made me think about what we were told about the Tist Edur, right? How they kind of, along with sorcery, explored alchemies. And also, this aligns with Tak's perspective. And I feel like how the difference, though, is that I think that Tak and Calor has a lot more to gain if sorcery should fall, right? Because if sorcery does fail, does that mean that his curses go as well?
Ooh, interesting. Maybe. You know what I've been thinking just as I read this chapter and reread it? And I don't know why I hadn't thought of this sooner once we found out in this book. But the fucking crippled god is an alien from another world.
Yep.
They are not alone.
They are not alone.
So I can't help but wonder, like, where did he rank in the pecking order in his home world?
I don't know. I have no idea. That's interesting, though. I mean,
I wonder if that's something we'll find out about. Maybe we should ask Mr. Erickson that. I would ask him that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not even something that's important, but it's interesting to my brain.
For sure. And I think that you would imagine that a high-ranking god from another realm would be not so easily duped by whatever trap was set by 8 wizards.
So maybe he wasn't that high ranking where he came from.
Right. Whether that answers your question or not, I don't think so, but never know.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll read and find out.
For sure. Absolutely. Always reading and finding out. All right. Another thing that I thought was cool is these like century candles that he's talking about. And, you know, the vision that I've had of Calor is that, you know, he's kind of fragile and frail looking, on the verge of becoming like a rotting corpse. So I'm wondering if these century candles have some type of alchemy, right, that keeps him from crossing that threshold. And it kind of makes it appear that these candles have to be used like every 100 years to like keep him looking the same way that he is.
I mean, I guess I didn't think he looks the same way as when he was cursed, you know, by Cruel and Draconis and Night Chill.
Right.
Or whoever. I think he's probably, I don't know if like decomposed is the right word, but he's probably changed. And yeah, I kind of got the sense that these candles kind of like, in a sense, like rejuvenated his body.
Yeah.
Like kind of kept it young-ish. That type of thing.
Yeah. My other point was when he's talking about how surprised the, you know, Cruel, Draconis, and Night Chill were when assailing his realm or his empire that he built, right? And before they even got there, he had obliterated everybody. He had destroyed his own creation, right? And it just adds like this level of eeriness when thinking about the Imperial Warren, that the ash and dust are people, animals, buildings, societies, things. In the prologue, when we kind of got that revelation, I thought it was just the act of Cruel taking his empire and moving it to the Imperial Warren, or creating the Imperial Warren. So, and if my theory is correct about Cruel being like a body so to speak. He essentially did it. He put it in himself.
What?
He put the Imperial Warren inside of himself.
I don't remember you talking about this before at all. Oh, sorry. Cruel, Cal. Sorry, I mixed the two up. Okay, sorry. Too many
So,
similar names.
yeah, I thought it was like the act of Cruel taking Calor's empire that had turned it to dust. But no, like the messed up part about it is that Calor had already decimated everybody into
Yeah,
ashes and dust. And Cruel just took what existed and moved it and made it a Warren.
gotcha. Sorry, I was confused. Yeah, the names. I got tripped up on the names.
No, it's fine. But also, here's my question, and maybe this is a little bit hypocritical of what we find out about Calor and his stance on sorcery is if he had decimated his entire empire, do you think he did that with alchemy or did he use sorcery?
Had to have used sorcery.
Right. So,
I don't know how else he would have done it. He had to have.
yeah, this is what makes me think that Calor is just being kind of a spiteful little bitch. Instead of actively taking the stance of like sorcery is bad, he's stewing. He's still like pissed on what was taken from him. Another thing that I thought was really funny is just Gethel throwing shade at Calor. Like he steps into this tent, pauses, looks around, and then like makes a comment about the tent being his vast empire. And then Calor's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna add some more scars to your face. So I thought that was funny. And yeah, they kind of like jab at each other this whole time.
They do have a little verbal sparring session.
Yeah. So, and then kind of towards the end, after they're back and forth a little bit, Calor kind of smiles and basically tells Gethel that all he asks from the crippled god is that Silver Fox just has like a moment of vulnerability. And it sounds like you, Derek, you're right about Calor becoming the High House King of the House of Chains. But here's my question to you is yes, I think you'll be successful in killing Silver Fox, but what are the consequences if he succeeds? And if he doesn't, is this the end of Calor or does he keep getting chances?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not even sure. Like, yeah, he's kind of been offered the position as High King, but it's dangled in front of him, right? But is he going to take it? I don't know that he like fully did take it. Did he?
Yeah.
Do you think he accepted it?
Yeah, because he says, or Gethel bows, and somewhere in here, Gethel's like, oh, yeah.
Well,
Gethel
he says,
bows.
I'm your herald or whatever.
Yeah. So I think that this is confirmation that you were right.
That's kind of cool to, I threw that out, I think, kind of early.
Yeah, like chapter
but
2.
It just like it made sense. Oh, it was when we were talking with Nate and thank you, Matt. Yeah, sorry, Matt. I feel like an asshole forgetting your name. Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of made sense to me. Like he's a dickhead, but I kind of like him.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be successful in killing Silver Fox. I mean, it sounds like they're going to try to arrange the chance for it to happen.
Right.
I don't know. Like I don't know. Because is like Rake or Brood gonna like whoop the shit out of him when he tries or something? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe it's gonna backfire. I don't know.
I don't know either. I think it's interesting. I think Calor is now. I think he's fully invested in leaving Caladan Brood and Rake. So I don't see him. I don't see him being successful with Silver Fox, mainly because I don't want to take a pie. But I think that there's a lot of interesting backstory to him. I don't think that he'll be successful, but I don't think that he'll be, because if I'm looking at the consequences, right? If he is successful at killing Silver Fox, then does that mean that the second gathering doesn't exist? What happens to the Talani Mass? Do they just go back to doing what they were doing? I think
wandering around.
Right. I think the consequence of not having the second gathering is far greater than Calor killing Silver Fox. So, like in a story like this, I don't see the Talani Mass just not not being a part of things.
Sure. So you think I'm going to get the pie?
Yep.
Maybe.
I guess we'll have to
But
wait and see.
yeah. I still feel impressed that, like, Caller might even have a chance, to try,
Right.
because, yeah, that was way early, too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And now he's got powerful allies to help him do it. So,
Right.
yeah. The other thing that I thought was really cool is like Calor's saying, like, hey, look at my throne. What do you think of it? Does it suit? And Gethel's like, yeah, it actually does. And it's funny because, like, Gethel notes the cracks along the frame. There's imperfections there. And I like it because, from what I understand about the Crippled God, what we've read is that he recruits those that have flaws, right? This chair is not perfect, it's got character.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of a cool little detail.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I have that I thought was cool is just in my mind, this whole like poison of the Warrens, I thought affected everybody, but it sounds like it's not. It's a facade, right? It's only for the people that resist the crippled god. Whoever supports him can walk freely through these Warrens.
But what do you have to do to, like, how does it know the difference?
I don't know,
Guess we'll see.
but I think it was a cool distinction. Like it makes sense now. Like there's just more levels, so to speak. But yeah, I'm ready to go if you are.
I'm ready. Whiskey Jack stepped out of the tent and looked to the stars. It had been a long time since he had felt this tired. He heard movement behind him. Then there was a hand on his shoulder. It was Corlat. She said it would be nice to get good news for a change. Whiskey Jack only grunted and said she could see the worry in his eyes and that it must be a long list. She lists off everyone Whiskey Jack holds important. She says she knows. He wonders if Capistan still holds or if it has fallen. Whiskey Jack says he is aware of the list, and why does she even really care? This isn't her war, or even her world for that matter. That was a question they pondered early and often into the campaign. Whiskey Jack recalled the time in Black Dog Forest where he'd come across half a dozen killed Tistandi, taken out by a Moranth cusser. Their bodies were being looted, and the looters cussed because there was nothing of value, and all Whiskey Jack could think about was the story of their lives. What did they hope and aspire to be? Would they be missed? He remembered that the Maibi said the Rivi had taken on the burial rites of the Tistandi. They had sent the looters packing, and they buried the Tistandi in the Malazan way. Corlat only asked why. Whiskey Jack said they honor their enemies, no matter who they are, but most of all the Tistandi. They accept prisoners, treated wounded, and even accepted retreat. Corlat asked if the bridge burners did the same. Whiskey Jack said most campaigns get nastier the longer they drag on, but that one seemed to become more civilized as it went. Corlat said most of that was undone at Pale. Whiskey Jack agreed and said more than she even knew. Corlat asked him to come back to the tent. Whiskey Jack said it wasn't a night to be alone, and Corlat called him a fool, saying she wasn't looking for company. She was looking for him. She didn't want some random hookup to satisfy her urges. She wanted to become his lover. She wanted to know if he had feelings for her. Whiskey Jack said he would be foolish not to, but he assumed she was mated to another Tistandi for centuries. She asked what the point of that would be. Seemingly caught off guard, Whiskey Jack said companionship and children? Corlat said children arrive rarely, more of a product. Tistandi do not find companionship among their own kind, yet it is more rare for Tistandi to emerge from darkness into the mortal world, seeking reprieve from. She trailed off. Whiskey Jack stopped her and said he would accept and do his best to be worthy of her gift. She said it was hardly a gift. If he were to seek her heart, he would only end up disappointed. Whiskey Jack reached into his belt pouch and handed Corlat a pebble. He said he had hoped he would be able to eventually return what was clearly a valuable object of the fallen Tistandi. It was all he had found in his search, and realized all he could do was honor them. Corlat took his hand and led him to the tent.
So what do you got for me?
Well, we get a little bit of a love story here, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very similar to our curse episode.
The beginnings of maybe a relationship here.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that, Whiskey Jack, they come across these dead Tistandi, their enemies, and he he wonders what the story of their lives was. What did they want to be? Would they be missed? And I feel like maybe it's unique. I don't know. Maybe it's not. But like, I wonder how many people, I guess, if you're walking across the field of battle and you see the enemy scattered, I mean, do you really wonder about them that much? Or are you just glad that they're dead and mad that they killed your buddies or something? I don't know. It's just kind of a deep thought with Whiskey Jack, I thought. Just,
Well, sure.
in the heat of the battle or just after it to think like that.
Well, I think that, even, he says like they honor their enemies no matter who they are. I think this is what was pointing back to the epigraph. At the very beginning of the epigraph, it says that the Malazan army was the finest ever produced. I think that this is what it is encompassing, is that there's compassion here for their enemies, where, to your point, most armies are just like, oh my God, I'm glad they're dead, because like, no, I don't have to deal with them.
Right.
That's kind of what I was insinuating. I don't know if that's what you had picked up or not.
No, I with that, I would think like their tactics and like fighting style is kind of what I would have thought, not like compassion, like you said, but different sides of the same coin, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I definitely felt like it was about time. I feel like Corlat and Whiskey Jack have been batting their eyes at each other kind of this whole time in intrigue. So I'm glad to see them finally get together.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see where it goes. I don't know how long lived it'll be, but
yeah.
My second thought here, I just it's kind of interesting to me. Corlett says children rarely arrive, and if they do, it's a product from boredom more than anything else. It's not like, oh, they love each other or the need to reproduce. It's like, we're bored. Let's fucking see if I get pregnant, basically,
Right.
This is odd. Different cultural stuff, I suppose. And then my last thought, this pebble that Whiskey Jack has, the only thing I could think of, and it just popped into my head immediately, and it feels weird, was just like, I'm pretty sure like male penguins give female penguins a pebble, like as a mating ritual or whatever.
Yeah.
And they mate for life, or so I hear, I guess. But I wonder if it's something like that. I don't know what you think.
It very well could be. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's all I got.
Maybe we'll have to ask Erickson about the pebble, if there is
We'll have to jot it down so we don't forget.
Well, let me do that right now.
Sorry, I'm yawning so much.
Well, we're almost done.
I know. I was up probably a little later than I should have been last night and up early this morning. So.
All right, got it written down. All right.
Sweet.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I thought that it was definitely was a shorter section. I thought it was interesting. I loved kind of that explanation of how Whiskey Jack goes about, honor in battle, even though they're facing somebody that is their enemy, there's honor amongst them.
Right.
Not be assholes,
Kill them, but don't be an asshole about it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I guess I'm ready to wrap it up if you are.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. The Mybe dreamed that she was hanging from the edge of a cliff, hanging on for dear life. In the abyss below raged a storm of dismembered memories, anger, fear, and pain. The storm wanted her, reached out for her, and she was helpless to defend herself. Her arms were getting tired. Shrieking wind wrapped around her legs and pulled her away from the cliff. She was falling, adding her own scream to the bellowing of the wind and storm. The winds tossed her this way and that. Suddenly, something vicious struck her hip. Talons closed around her waist, scaled and cold as death. A sharp tug snapped her head back, and she was no longer falling, but rising. The storm's roar faded below her. She twisted her body to look up. An undead dragon loomed above her. The creature was taking her away. She then turned to study what was below. A plain stretched beneath her, with long cracks filled with dull, glowing ice. She watched a herd flow over a hillside. She thought to herself that she walked this land before, because here, in her dreams, there were footprints. The dragon turned suddenly, spiraling earthward. She found herself screaming, not because she was scared, but because she was exhilarated. The land rushed up to greet her, but the dragon's wings suddenly snapped back to catch the wind. The undead dragon released her with barely a thump on the ground. The Ivy looked down to find a youthful body, her own. She cried at the cruelty of the dream. She thought to herself why the undead dragon had saved her, just to bring her here. A soft voice spoke in her mind and said that she was passing through. The Ivy looked around and asked who spoke and where was it. The voices said that they were here, only when the Ivy was ready to see them. The voices continued to explain that her daughter has a strong will, much to match her mother's, to have commanded the greatest of bone casters. It's true. The bone caster came at Silver Fox's summon, the gathering. This was just a minor detour, but regardless, they find themselves impressed. The Ivy said, "My daughter," as if it was a question. The voices responded saying that Silver Fox still stings from harsh words. They can feel those harsh words and the reason why they exist here. That small, round man hides obsidian edges beneath its mountains of flesh. Who would have ever thought? A thought enters and tells Silver Fox that her mother has given all she can, and it's time to return the gift and answer. Krupp is not alone in refusing to abandon the Ivy to her fate. He had opened her eyes once, swept away her obsessing of herself. She was only a child at the time, but she heeded his words, though he spoke only to her in her dreams. The voices asked if she was ready to see them. The Ivy stared down at her young youthful arms. She screamed and said to stop torturing her with these dreams. Her eyes opened to the darkness of her tent. Weeping, she curled herself into a tight ball. She whispered how she hated the gods. So I found this section really interesting, and the undead dragon essentially saves her, right? And I'm wondering, is this the undead dragon that we saw at the end of Deadhouse Gates when Poost and Megora were arguing with each other?
Maybe somebody can confirm that or deny that for us if there's an answer. Maybe there's not an answer. I don't know. But I could see that. I mean, it seems to fit.
Yeah. I mean, that's the canon that I have till I'm told otherwise. One of the other things that I thought was strange is just like when she's observing this plane as she's like being flown by the undead dragon, she kind of like is watching a herd flow over a hillside, which this could be like a herd of Behedron, or this could be like a herd of people. And she had thought to herself that like she's walked this land before because in her dreams there were footprints. And I think this is supposed to translate to like a recollection of walking this part of land in her dreams previously. I'm not really sure though. I felt like it was a little strange and not sure if footprints are meant to be like a literal thing or a figurative thing.
Yeah, I don't know that I can really add anything to, I guess, clarify that for us.
Fair enough. One of the other thoughts that I had is I don't know who these voices are, if they're like conscience, like her conscience is kind of what I'm getting, because they seem to have been born by or a manifestation of the harsh words that the Ivy has shared with Silver Fox. Or if it is like a dream that's also happening with Silver Fox, because just a little bit later, there's a thought, and it felt really out of place because it almost seemed like it was talking to Silver Fox. And I thought it was weird, out of place, but it kind of sounds like Krupp is here in this dream as well. And it was just so oddly placed where we go from the Ivy asking about her daughter to the voices that are supposed to be inside her head. Is it supposed to be like a thought inside of a thought within a voice inside someone's head? Or is Krupp potentially trying to bridge Silver Fox and Ivy through their dreams? Is Silver Fox witnessing what's happening to the Ivy? Is that the reason why what I'm imagining is the greatest bone caster is this like undead dragon? Because it kind of seems like if Silver Fox is witnessing the Ivy or her mother's dream, then it's potential that she commanded the greatest bone caster, this undead dragon, to go rescue her mom from this like abyss, or from the manifestations of fear that the Ivy has of death, right? And Krupp, I feel like, is just kind of mediating between the two. And that's kind of where we get this like odd sentence where he's saying hey, Silver Fox, your mother has given all she can. It's time to return the gift as an answer. You know what I mean? Like that sentence, that saying didn't seem like it was coming from these voices inside of the Mybee's head, if that makes sense.
I thought it was like her ancestors or spirits talking to her.
It could be, but it sounds like they're addressing Silver Fox, not the Mybee.
I guess I don't really remember that.
It's like the last. Yeah, I would just maybe read that last section again. More so when she's at the end of the section, because it didn't seem like they were talking to her, but to Silver Fox. So I'm kind of wondering if, like, in the next chapter or so, we'll get like Silver Fox and her mom kind of making amends. And there will be this conversation about, yeah, I witnessed your dream. Krupp kind of pulled me into it. I understand your perspective, so to speak, you know?
Sure. I don't know, man. You go a lot deeper than I do. Well, you don't have to be sorry.
It's just something to think about, you know? I mean, like, this whole chapter is focused around, well, not really focused, but there's a theme of estrangedness, you know, between the Mybee and, you know, her thoughts around being done with, being devoured, right? There's an end to that devourness. Yeah, I feel like, and I know that we talked a little bit in the first section about the Mybee, and I think that this undead dragon, which is a Talani Mass, I think that Silver Fox, in a way, will save her mom. I think that what this dream is representing is that her mom will be saved because of Tattersail's role, or Silver Fox's role. See, even now I'm doing it.
So you don't think the Mybee will die?
I'm starting to think that that she's not going to die. No, I'm not going to take a bet on it, but
yeah, that's fine. I would be surprised if she didn't.
But yeah, that's me just picking over this section with a fine-tooth comb. That's all.
Gotcha. Well, you do a good job of it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Well, we finished the sub book.
We did. We're halfway through the book, man.
This next chapter is like 40-ish pages.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that being that the sub book is Capustan, that I would imagine that the beginning of the siege is what we're gonna read.
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess we're not quite halfway by page count, but
we're there. We're halfway there.
We're there.
It's crazy because like I feel like every book we start, we get to halfway, and I'm like, man, I feel like we just started this, even though it's been 7 months already. You know.
Yeah. This has been a pretty big one.
Yeah. So I'm excited to finish it. I'm excited to see what's all in store. I'm excited to get to Blood Follows, which should be short, and then it's on to House of Chains. So yeah, it'll be cool. I'm excited.
We'll bang them out.
Bang them. But yeah, dude, that's all I have for that short chapter.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. I think you're right. I would think we're probably going to see the siege kick off pretty quick in this next sub book. Feels like it's definitely been set up. So no idea what to expect, but I'm sure it's going to be nuts.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we'll talk to Maura and Lee in 8 days. I guess we'll see if we can get maybe we can record a cursed episode in between there. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to read on. I hope you
Me too.
So
yes, I will read. Yeah, I might even start here pretty quick.
I think I will as well. But yeah, I gotta get going. So
yeah, well, have fun with the rest of your day. I hope your kids have a fun time.
Yeah, you do the same, man.
All right, see you, buddy.
Bye, dude.
Bye.
CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest.